Hey guys, it's Carrie from Lovely Etc. and I am super excited about today's project. I picked up this old radio at a church yard sale for $5 and I'm super excited to give it a whole new function and a major facelift. So I realized this might be a little controversial. I love antiques as much as anybody else. I have tons of antiques in my house. I'm always scouring yard sales and thrift stores for really cool old stuff. And I definitely do not believe that all old furniture needs to be painted and made modern and brought into line with today's style. Today's style is constantly changing, and that's what's really cool about antiques and vintage furniture. They celebrate all the beautiful designs from years past. Not everything has to look the same. I did a little bit of research into my radio, and it looks like it was produced around 1940, and I love to imagine a family gathered around the radio listening to music, listening to war news, and how much a huge part of their life this radio probably was. However, not all antiques can be restored to new condition, and radios like this in particular present a lot of challenges. This one does still have quite a bit of its radio guts, which is unusual, but finding replacements for the parts for radios like this is very difficult, very expensive, and there really aren't that many people that have the skill to fully restore this radio. So instead of letting it sit around in somebody's basement for a few more decades, or even worse, get thrown into the trash, I'm going to clean it up and give it a new purpose while hopefully still honoring what's so beautiful and special about it to begin with. So when I found this radio, it was in pretty bad shape. That's why it was $5. There's a bunch of mouse poop all over the bottom, gross, and the wood is really worn. There was apparently a plant or something set on top at some point because there's some big water rings, and some of the knobs are missing, some of the plastic and wood details are a bit broken, but there's definitely enough there that it can be brought back to life. Okay, so before I do anything else, I'm gonna get this radio nice and clean and make sure all the poop is gone. I wanna make this old radio beautiful again, and I wanna give it a new purpose, some sort of function. And I have a plan for how to do that. I want to preserve the original radio parts as much as possible, but I am going to have to take a few things off because I want to make some space for a new function of having some actual storage here. So I'm removing the speaker out of the bottom to make space. Now these wooden slats in the front I love, and I think that they are key to this Art Deco style, but they're in bad shape. So I'm going to take them off as well and make some repairs. I'm using wood glue to glue them back together, and then I'm going to refinish them and attach them again at the end. My plan is to add storage to the bottom of this radio, and I want to turn this front facing into a door that can be opened and closed for easy access. So I'm using an oscillating tool just to carefully cut a rectangle door frame out of the existing shape, and I want to be careful to stick to the existing lines in the designs so that it blends in seamlessly in the end. And we have a door. I'm using these small non-mortise hinges to make my cabinet door. I like them because they have a slimmer silhouette than normal hinges, and you don't have to do any chiseling to make them work. You just screw them directly into the door and the door frame. All right, so next step, making this guy beautiful again. This piece was a little bit of a conundrum when it came to how to refinish it. I really love the beautiful wood grain at the top of the radio, and I wanted to preserve that, but at the same time, some of the wood on this radio was in really bad shape and not really a good candidate for refinishing. So in the end, I decided to go with a two-tone look. Some of it's going to be painted and some of it's going to be restored. So I filled in all of the cracks and dents and gouges with wood filler and sanded it smooth, and then I decided to paint it with black paint. I used Beyond paint. It's an all-in-one paint. You don't have to use primer. You don't have to use a top coat, although I often do anyway, just for extra protection. And it gives a really nice finish and it has great coverage. Along with that, I really didn't want to completely strip the original finish the way that you normally would to refinish wood, because then I would have lost all of the original lettering along the dials on the front of the radio, and I really didn't want to do that. So instead, I decided to use Howard's Restore Finish. I've used this on a bunch of other projects, and it's really nice because it brings wood back to life and it can restore dry, cracked wood and make it look really beautiful again without completely having to strip the old finish. All you do is apply the Restore Finish with a clean rag and then buff off any excess. And it comes in several colors. I'm using the dark walnut color, but there are other color options as well. Once your Restore Finish has had time to completely dry, then you can protect the finish with Howard's Feed and Wax, and it's just a sealer that helps protect your wood. You don't want to use any kind of polyacrylic or polyurethane type finish over Howard's Restore finish. If you're trying to refinish wood without stripping it, this is an amazing option. Or if you're just trying to bring old wood back to life, but it does have some limitations. To turn this radio into a functional storage cabinet, I knew I needed to add some shelves. So I cut a few shelf supports from some small scraps of wood and then cut a few shelves from 3/4 inch plywood. I cut a new back for the cabinet using 1/4 inch plywood, and then I painted the inside of the cabinet this great green color that I made by mixing together some paints I had left over from other projects. Finally, I attached my cabinet door with the new hinges and then reattached those wooden slats to the front. And now for my favorite part of any project, the before and after. This radio definitely has gone through a major transformation, and I think that I accomplished my goals of making it both beautiful and functional. So for now, I'm using my radio as a small bookcase. I think that it would make an absolutely amazing bar, and it could also even be a funky nightstand or just an accent cabinet wherever you want to store a few extra things. And that's my finished radio. Like I said, I'm sure this makeover is not for everybody, but I'm really happy with how it turned out, and I'm really happy that this radio that's been sitting in garages and basements and on the curb and at yard sales for decades now finally has a purpose and a function. It looks beautiful, and it's ready to have new life and be a part of somebody's home instead of just forgotten back in the corner. And if you also love seeing old stuff given new life and a new purpose, I have tons of old junk repurposes at my website, Lovely Etc. I'll put a link to some of the best ones up above, and you can check that out. And if you haven't, I'd love for you to subscribe to my channel, Lovely Etc., where I share inexpensive DIY ideas for creating a home that you love. See you next time.